Remember back in the day when Zelos started, they used to have these bold, chunky divers packed with insane lume. And as time progressed and demand increased and the market also changed, they sort of modeled with the times, producing watches still with the Zelos DNA, but those big, bold divers sort of faded away from the lineup. Well, now those divers are back with the new Treasure, and this is a nod to those roots. And it screams old school Zelos adapted to modern times. This is Zelos doing what Zelos does best. Does best? Do best? Does best? The Treasure was built for hardcore fans who felt left out by the recent smaller releases and didn't have the same interest in the more upmarket and wilder designs. It is priced on the website at the moment at $449, and it takes inspiration from the Treasure World Timer's case, but it's beefed up to even more water resistance, 500 meters to be exact, and the case goes from 41 millimeters from the World Timer to 44 millimeters to the new Treasure. Now when we look at it, this thing is massive, but still functional, overbuilt, and unapologetically bold. And the first thing that strikes you, and what it is for me, the star of the show, is that dial. That is a sick looking dial. This comes in 4 colors, link down below to the website. The variant that I have here is the hammered gray, and it is the only one out of the 4 with a textured pattern. I think this is pretty obvious why it's called that, because of the hammered texture. The design of the dial is utilitarian in nature, with nothing extra added here that shouldn't be on the dial. We have Zelos at the 12 with a date window at the 6 o'clock position with a matching colored date wheel. The standout feature for me, or standout features, are the markers, which are blocks of Lumicast. Lumicast Lume is essentially a luminous material, just like C3 and all the other ones, where the glow compound is molded into solid 3D shapes instead of just being painted on. This makes the lume thicker, brighter, and long-lasting, while also allowing for a sharper, more detailed design filled with lume. And to add a bit of spice to that, to quote Elshan, Zelos' brand owner, the lume is the star of the show, being the brightest and longest lasting out of all the pieces, with Lumicast used for every part of the dial. This one is the most expensive lume dials across any of our timepieces, with the whole chapter ring being a solid Lumicast piece. End of quote. This genuinely looks premium for the price, and I think it's probably the second micro brand that I've seen with Lumicast on the dial under the $500 mark. So if you ask me, this is quite of an exclusive club to be in. Let's take a closer look at the way it wears, because as you'd imagine, this thing is a beast. So the diameter is 44 millimeters. We have a lug to lug of 50 millimeters, a thickness of 12.8 millimeters without the crystal. And with that sapphire crystal, we have 13.9 millimeters. The case is made out of 316L stainless steel, and we have a lug width of 22 millimeters. It sounds big, right? Well, in reality, I know it sounds weird, but it's actually smaller than those things would say. And I know I've said this about a lot of watches, but considering the size of this thing, even on paper, it looks big. Now, even though it has female end links that angle downwards, they do not fully articulate. So technically, you're looking at a lug to lug of around 58-ish. So you need girthy wrists to rock this, 7-inch plus to be exact. Now, another thing to note, this is a 500 meter rated watch, and it has a 12.8 millimeter thickness. And in the grand scheme of things, it is not a lot by any means, and that is down to the choice of the movement, which in this case is the Miyota 9T15. The 9000 series movements are known for their sleek, thin presence under the hood. While we're here, the magical number that you need to know is plus 5 seconds per day, which is too good considering the price, and also the fact that Zelos don't really do anything to regulate these movements. In terms of constructions and design, aesthetically, this looks like it can take the 500 meter stated water resistance it carries. If you ask me, it has a bit of Seiko Marine Master of it in terms of size comparison, but again, this is probably slightly better looking than the Marine Master. The finishing is all brushed, given the fact that it is indeed a very utilitarian brute, with the upper surfaces under the bezel having another brush texture that sort of breaks the line a little bit in a different way, but not in a typical chamfer transition. Bezel has 120 clicks and it has a decent movement. Mine has the gray ceramic inserts to match the dial, and to be honest, I kind of like the subtle look of it. If we talk about backplay and alignment, these are not into the discussion because this is a Zelos and Elshan wouldn't let anything like this slip because, again, they have a reputation and this is very well built for the price. The last thing that we didn't talk about here is the bracelet. This is an H-Link style, and I have to say the finishing on it, it is pretty much brushed all over, and we have screw pins to adjust with no issues whatsoever. I didn't have any problems adjusting this for my wrist. We also have a clasp button on the fly system to adjust, which basically has the Zelos button that you press here and you get a little bit more space. In order to make it shorter, you don't have to press the button again, you just press it in and it closes. This also has quick release spring bars, which is actually pretty handy. To be completely honest, in case you want to get a smaller presence with this on the wrist, maybe you can put it on a rubber strap or a NATO, but maybe the NATO would add a bit more thickness to it. It is a typical well-finished bracelet, as Zelos usually does, with no QC issues, no sharp edges or anything. So to round it up, guys, I feel that at this stage the brand name sort of speaks for itself when it comes to quality. The standout features here for me are those Lumicast indices and the chapter ring. It is not very common to see something like this at the price range, like I was saying. I mean, Christopher Ward will charge you around 1,500 euros for something similar, or I think it's slightly more. So when you think about it, the fact that this is 449 euros, $449, and you get a Miyota 9015 and those long-lasting Lumicast indices, this is a bargain when you think about it. Everything else is just a matter of preference. It is a big watch and the design is typical Zelos and utilitarian in nature, so if that is for you, that means that you're pretty much covered because you can't really go wrong with something like this. With that out of the way, guys, that was my review for the Zelos Thresher. It is slightly late, so I do apologize for that. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the model. If you have one of these, what you think about Lumicast, as it is something new. Click a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't so, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.